You don't look good.
I don't?
Boy, you look better. You didn't used to look like this.
Hello and welcome to the sixth entry of my film journal, where I record my experience watching your favorite movie. I'm Frankie, and today I'm feeling nostalgic with Ghostbusters. Even though Ghostbusters had been out for a decade by the time I yeeted out of my mother, it was still a huge part of my childhood growing up. It wouldn't even be far-fetched to say that it ignited my love for filmmaking because the level to which these special effects had me in a chokehold as a 5-year-old is unparalleled. During its original theatrical run, Ghostbusters earned $282.2 million, can't even say that, it's so much money, to its budget of an estimated $30 million, making it one of the most successful comedy movies of the 80s. And it has since been followed up by a multi-million-dollar media franchise with movies and animated television series. But now, 40 years after the release of this movie, I want to know, does it still hold up? And if so, why? It's actually been a while since I last saw this movie. But I did watch it a lot when I was little. It was a very, very, very important for a young me. As the spooky soundtrack of Ghostbusters lets us know that the movie has begun, we find ourselves at the New York City Library. Do you remember those? A calm librarian is returning a book to the correct shelf as something peculiar starts happening. Some books, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them, they start hovering from one shelf to another without anyone visibly touching them. The librarian doesn't think too much of it until index cards start flying out of their cabinets and she is bombarded with a bright, windy light. Who is she gonna call in such a peculiar situation? We don't have time to find out just yet, because here's a paranormal studies laboratory where Dr. Peter Venkman is using some questionable research practices. Venkman is conducting a test on 2 students and asks them to guess the symbols on the cards he is showing them. Unbeknownst to them, he is always telling the girl that her guesses are right and the guy that his are wrong, regardless of what the truth is, and he follows it up with an electrical shock if they answer incorrectly. The guy gets tired of getting sapped so much for only $5. $5? $5. Yeah. So he leaves, and Venkman tries to lovingly convince the remaining girl that she has psychic abilities. The scene really sets up Venkman's character in a certain way, and he really does not get any better throughout this movie. Does he? Ray Stantz excitedly enters the lab and says there was a ghost sighting at the library, so they have to go and check it out. Venkman isn't really happy about having to go ghost hunting instead of spending time lying to a young woman, but they eventually meet up with Egon Spengler at the library, where he's been running some tests already. He's totally my favorite from all these guys. Look at that nerd. They question the librarian, who says that what she saw had arms, her uncle thought he was Saint Jerome, and she's not using drugs. Venkman also asks her if she's menstruating at the time, which, and he really
does not get any better throughout this movie, does he?
Yeah. What does that have anything to do with it?
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
They head downstairs to check out the ghost, and first they find a pile of books. A really high pile of books. So spooky. Imagine all the brain cells you need to read all that. Isn't that just about the scariest thing you can think of? They also find that the index cards cabinet has been completely slimed. As they are getting some samples and readings, they come across a ghost of what appears to be an elderly woman reading a book, and they do not know what to do with themselves. So they go and do what men are great at. They go bother a woman who's just minding her own business. That's right, girlies, even death won't save you from these guys.
Get her!
After fleeing in fear, the guys analyze their findings and think that they might actually be able to catch the ghost, but oh no, it turns out that their university has stopped funding them and they have to vacate the campus. And this guy absolutely reads them to filth.
We believe that the purpose of science is to serve mankind. You, however, seem to regard science as some kind of dodge or hustle. Your theories are the worst kind of popular tripe, your methods are sloppy, and your conclusions are highly questionable. You are a poor scientist, Dr. Venkman.
That seems like a valid reason to end funding. Now they have no money, no facilities. What do? The answer is simple. Entrepreneurship. It's so simple, I know how to say it. They get a massive loan on Ray's childhood home and rent a pricey and rundown building that used to be a firehouse.
I think this building should be condemned. There's serious metal fatigue in all the load-bearing members. The wiring is substandard. It's completely inadequate for our power needs. And the neighborhood is like a demilitarized zone.
That's me describing my health. And the truth is, these guys are just really showing us exactly what you should do when starting a business. Who wouldn't be able to figure out how to capitalize on ghosts? In another part of town, Dana Barrett arrives to her apartment building with groceries and has a really nice consensual chat with her overbearing neighbor Lewis. He invites her to a party and says that she should keep the volume on her TV down because someone complained, so he had to climb on the ledge of her window, but he couldn't get in to turn off her TV, so he just turned on his TV so that hers wouldn't seem as loud. Are you okay, Lewis? This guy needs a hobby or something. In my culture, if you hear your neighbor in the hallway, you wait for them to leave. You don't go out. We don't talk to each other. I don't know anyone. Dana walks into her flat and straight up sees an ad for Ghostbusters on her TV. I wonder if she might ever need that. Holy shit, the eggs are cooking on her countertop and there's an angry goblin dragon in her fridge. I hate when that happens. At the Ghostbusters headquarters, the guys are setting up shop. They've already hired a secretary. And let me tell you, I would not be against a Ghostbusters movie 40 years after this storyline with Janine as the main character. Come on, Hollywood peeps. Give the people what they need. Okay, this is Editing Frankie, and I've since realized that Annie Potts actually is in 2 of the newer Ghostbusters movies, but I haven't really watched them, and from the cast list, I'm just assuming that she has more of a cameo situation going on here, so I stand by my point.
I also play racquetball. Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Get you a man who collects spores, molds, and fungus. Dana seeks help from the Ghostbusters for her whole fridge situation. Why do I write things I can't pronounce? Dana seeks help from the Ghostbusters for her whole fridge situation. Fuck. And Winkman jumps into action. The Busters question her and discuss what could be behind Dana's experience, and Winkman goes with her to her apartment to check her out. Dana compares Winkman to a game show host rather than a scientist, and they check out Dana's very regular fridge. I don't get marshmallows, you know? They're like too sweet. Am I saying something very triggering to someone right now? As the next natural course of events, Winkman says that he is in love with Dana, and because she reacts by calling him odd, he says that he's gonna prove himself by solving her fridge goblin problem, and she literally needs to shove him out her door. This is so romantic. What a great start to a relationship. Just as the gang is depressed about their financial situation, the phone rings and Janine sends them out to check out a ghost sighting at a hotel. No one's gonna notice them.
What are you supposed to be, some kind of a cosmonaut?
No, we're exterminators. Somebody saw a cockroach up on
It's a
12.
communist. Oh.
That's gotta be some
There they find this green booger who loves to eat, though I'm not really sure how that works because he's a ghost, so it all just falls through him. Oh no. I ate too much pasta and now I'm getting sleepy. I was exactly like that guy. That was literally me eating too much pasta earlier. Ray tries to catch him but fails, so the green ghost attacks Winkman and slimes him. Seeing that green ghost as a child, to me, was like, technology is really, really going places. And now we have AI, so... Okay. They trace the ghost to a fancy dining hall.
We'll take care of everything.
3 men who have it under control. And Egon's like, don't cross the streams of our blaster tools, cause it would be bad. All of life would stop instantaneously, and every molecule in our body would explode at the speed of light.
All right, that's bad. Okay.
They set a trap, and Egon and Wenkman blast the ghost at the same time, while Ray operates the trap, and holy shit, they actually did it. They actually caught the ghost. But how could I ever expect anything less from chaps with such precise methods?
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
The hotel guy is kind of upset about the price of capture, so they, like good business people, threaten to let the ghost loose again. Maybe they actually are good business people after all. This montage certainly shows them pretty busy and successful. The Busters are in fact so busy now that they hire Winston to help them out. Oh, and also there's the scene about Ray getting busy with a ghost, but we don't have to talk about it. Winkman shows up at Dana's job uninvited, and I am starting to consider, could this movie be about women's bodily autonomy? I mean, there's Dana's overbearing neighbor Lewis, Winkman, just in general, just the whole of him, and Zool, the demigod that's chilling in her fridge. Get it? Chilling. But maybe I'm just overthinking this whole thing. Just as Ray's showing Winston how they store the ghosts.
Light is green, crap is clean. Ghost is incarcerated here in our custom-made storage facility.
You need to write that down for me. Walter Peck from the Environmental Protection Agency shows up asking about their business practices. Was this guy in a movie that I just recently watched? Was he in Die Hard? Who is he? He was in Die Hard. See? I do have some brain cells. It doesn't happen often, but I recognized him. Maybe because I was just writing the Die Hard script today. He wants to see their storage facilities and also like understand if there's any environmental effects that they're causing. Wenkman, though, he's a true American. He tells him to go F off and that he's gonna sue him for wrongful prosecution if he comes back with a court order to get his answers. At the same time, Egon's explaining to Ray and Winston that there are serious environmental damages that might be caused by their storage system. So, I don't know. Who are we rooting for here again? I wonder what a Twinkie tastes like. It's like a sponge cake with some like stuff in it. On her way home, Dana tries to sneak past Lewis's flat where there's a party happening, but Lewis has some weird spidey senses and he locks himself out of his apartment while trying to convince her to come to his party. Dana hangs up on her mom after telling her that she has a date with a Ghostbuster, and her armchair sprouts creepy looking arms and transports her into her kitchen where our favorite dog-shaped demigod has popped out of her fridge. At Lewis's party, we find out that he has invited all of his accounting clients so he can write off the party on his taxes, which to me just sounds like the start of a very fun party. Sadly, one of our ghoul dogs crashes the party and chases him out of the building. Lewis seemingly gets eaten in front of a bunch of rich people who do not care. I guess that's just New York for you. Winkman shows up for their date and Dana is looking a little different. She asks if he's the keymaster, and he answers wrong the first time before playing along. I like what you've done with the place. Dana declares that she is Zool and seductively lays down on her bed.
Hey, time to get a rule. Never to get involved with possessed people.
At least this time, Winkman kind of does the right thing and tries to coax Dana out of Zool, but Zool starts levitating instead, so a frazzled Lewis emerges from the park, muttering about being the keymaster and looking for the gatekeeper, which honestly nowadays just sounds like something alpha male podcasters probably talk about. The police pick up a possessed Lewis, and instead of taking him to medical professionals, they bring him to the Ghostbusters headquarters, where Egon takes him in.
You know, you are a real humanitarian.
I don't think he's human.
He runs some tests on him, and they figure out his home address from his driving license, and Vince, as Lewis is calling himself now, explains some mythical lore. Conveniently, Venkman calls, and he says that he's had to drug Dana up because she's calling herself the gatekeeper, and Egon tells him about the keymaster. So naturally, Venkman just leaves Dana by herself so they can figure out what's going on.
Just leave her there. Great idea.
In the Ghostbusters car, Ray and Winston talk about Judgment Day. But no need to think about this too much. Here's some funky music. In the morning, the environmental agency dude shows up again, this time with a cop, and this guy with a hammer and helmet. They have a warrant to turn off the Busters machines, and Egon tries to stop them by logic, Venkman by calling them jerks. To each their own. Ultimately, they get the guy with the helmet who says that he's never seen machines like this before. They get him to do the job. Exactly like it should be done. They all run out of the building as there's an explosion, and the ghosts that they have captured escape.
Oofed.
The authorities blame them for the explosion, and in all the commotion, they lose the keymaster. They get thrown in jail with all their blueprints to Dana's building. Where did you get those? And they explain that the building is a big antenna designed to concentrate spiritual turbulence. That is script writing. Apparently there was some weird doctor who used to conduct rituals for an entity named Gozer to end the world at the top of the building or something. Anyways, the cop from Die Hard lets the gang out because the whole town is nuts now and they are our only hope. Yikes.
Was this guy also in Die Hard? Let me check. Yes, he was.
There's an emergency meeting with the mayor and the environmental dude, and everyone blames everyone else for this paranormal explosion. And even this guy shows up, but I'm sorry, I don't know much about Christianity, so I don't know what brand he is. The gang uses the power of Yap to convince the mayor to let them go and save the lives of millions of registered voters, because that's how decisions are made in America. In the meantime, the Keymaster and Gatekeeper had reunited with a passionate kiss of two possessed bodies. The Busters are escorted to Dana's building by police convoy as darkness starts to descend, and the asphalt in front of the main entrance almost swallows them whole. The crowds cheer them on as they start their journey up the staircase of this high-rise building.
The struggle is real.
Upstairs, everything is pretty wrecked already, and they find Dana and Lewis doing whatever this is.
So? She's a dog.
Gozer shows up in the body of a woman because it can, and Ray asks it to stop its supernatural activity, and that goes really well.
Are you a god?
No.
Then
The guys get zapped onto the ledge of the building, but nothing can stop them, and they blast her all at the same time with their kinda phallic proton blasters.
Nimble little minx, isn't she?
We better go full stream.
We have the tools. We have the talent.
But maybe again, I'm just reading too much into this movie. A disembodied voice from a cloud asks them to choose the form of the destructor. And because Ray accidentally thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, then that's who shows up in giant form. Because I guess it worked earlier, they yet again zapped the Marshmallow Man, but this time they set it on fire. Now, there's basically a walking bonfire climbing up towards them. I guess now all they can do is the one thing they said could blow them up faster than the speed of light, and they cross all their beams while aiming at the portal on the top of the building. This causes another giant explosion, and the sky turns black as melted Marshmallow Man drops to the street.
How in the hell would you survive an explosion like that? That's the unrealistic part of this movie. Not the giant Marshmallow Man.
All of them survive though, even Dana and Lewis, who break out from inside Grilled Demon Dog. So I guess it's a happy ending after all. Naturally, it's not difficult to see why this movie was such a smash hit in the 80s. The topic is imaginative and the effects positively nuclear, like most of the stuff from the 80s. And above all, the cast features actors who all had hits behind them. You have Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray of Saturday Night Live fame. Harold Ramis, he directed Caddyshack, in which Murray had a role, and Ramis also wrote Stripes, a movie Murray starred in, and that was directed by Ivan Reitman, who also directed Ghostbusters. Are you keeping up? And of course you also have Sigourney Weaver, who was just an alien a few years prior, and Rick Moranis, but this was one of his first big blockbusters, so I guess we have Ghostbusters to thank for Rick. What I had really forgotten about was the amount of Coca Cola promotion in this movie. But Coca Cola did own Columbia Pictures from 1982 until 1989 when they sold it to Sony, so I guess it kind of makes sense. However, I do find it funny that a company with a huge environmental impact when it comes to its business practices was behind a movie where the evil, annoying guy was a dude from the Environmental Protection Agency. This guy is so mean to us because we're possibly causing actual damage. What a jerk. And of course, I cannot finish this video without mentioning the whole women's side of things when it comes to this movie. It's kind of weird to me the amount of adult themes that are in this movie, considering how heavily marketed it was to children. But I guess that's the 80s for you. It's also no joke that narratives relating to women back in the day, but to be honest also now, were heavily portrayed through a misogynistic lens, especially in comedies, it feels like to me. Watching it now in 2024, this type of humor makes the main characters feel pretty childish while they navigate a world that seems to be set up solely for their success, regardless of how they accomplish anything. That's why I'm at least happy that they actually made a gender-bent version of this franchise, regardless of what the public opinion about it might be. It's just not surprising that there was such loud backlash to the 2016 reboot starring women when the original is pretty actively not in favor of women.
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
But overall, I enjoy visiting movies like these every now and again because it gives a chance to reflect on how my perspective has changed from one time to another. Maybe next time I will see something else that I missed today. I just wanted to end this video by showing you some information that you can read, or you can just pretend you never saw this part of the video. To fill the time, I will recite the lyrics to the Ghostbusters theme song as they sound translated into Estonian. Kui on midagi imelikku teie naabruses, kellele sa helistad? Tondipüüdjatele. Kui on midagi imelikku ja see ei näe hea välja, kellele sa helistad? Tondipüüdjatele. Ma ei karda ühtegi kummitust. Ma ei karda ühtegi kummitust. Nähtamatu mees magab oma voodis. Oh, Kellele sa helistad? Tondipüüdjatele. Ma ei karda ühtegi kummitust. Ma ei karda ühtegi kummitust. Thank you. Hey you! Thanks for watching this whole video. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button over here and let me know what movie I should watch next in the comments. YouTube thinks you might like that video next, but I also worked on this one, so you can check either of them out. Hope you have fun watching your next movie. Bye! This is acting.